We have celebrated bright days and endured dark hours over approximately 100 years of automobile history. However, we have never seen as midnight an hour as we face this coming week. As our national lawmakers on Capitol Hill contemplate whether or not they will extend the much needed financial assistance to these crucial American automobile manufacturers. For those of you who think that this is not a spiritual message, I ask you to ponder the history of our car manufacturers. First, let's understand that it is God that says if a man doesn't work, then he should not eat. It is God who ordained man to work by the sweat of his brow. And it is God who demands that a man should be the head of his home in leadership, in example, and in provisions. Secondly, I would suggest to you that it was the automobile industry that proved to be the catalyst for an underprivileged man, unlearned, not due to his intellect, but in large part to the inequities of the educational systems in a segregated society, that was able to go to the automobile industry and afford a living for him and his home. And certainly it was the labor union movement in latter years that made sure and ensured that this man and now women would be able to earn a fair day's wage for a fair day's work. Many of those pioneers in the automotive plant were considered the least of these. And you know what Jesus thinks about the least of these. In Matthew 25, he says, inasmuch as ye have done it to the least of these, my brethren, he says, you have done it unto me. This coming week, millions of people are weighing in the balance. Lives are hanging in an abyss of uncertainty, as both houses of Congress will decide on whether they will or will not extend a helping hand to the least of these. I choose to refer to these fine blue-collar workers and even many of the white-collar workers as the least of these because they are not the decision makers. They have no invitation into the corporate boardrooms. They have no sponsored golf outings to exercise in and enjoy. They have no retreats in grand hotels where they can drink champagne, $350 a bottle, and enjoy massages, $200 an hour. These individuals have no place in corporate meetings that decide strategies and strategic plannings and future goals. They have no multi-million-dollar bonuses if they succeed, and even million-dollar bonuses if they fail. These are the least of these. These individuals are just simple men and women. Our neighbors, our mothers, our fathers, our grandparents, our nieces, our nephews, our brothers, and our sisters who do as they're told with the expectation that the company will keep its word, that it will honor its commitment and value their work and their service. As I intensely listened to the petitions and the debate over the approximate $34 billion financial aid package, which is before Congress, I couldn't help but wonder, what would Jesus do? What would Jesus think? How would Jesus respond? Well, brothers and sisters, I dare not minimize the mind of God to my limited intellect. But let me just share with you some of what was going through my mind. As I was thinking to myself, I thought, where was the meaningful discussions and debate when the financial district known as Wall Street received the money they needed with no questions asked? Just talking about my mind. I wondered, where was the appropriate conversations when the insurance industry needed money, received money with very little argument, and got so drunk in their own favor that they wasted much of it a few weeks later? Well, I came to the conclusion that what was good for Wall Street and the same rules that applied to Main Street ought to be extended to the side street. Everybody can't live on Wall Street. Everybody can't live on Main Street. But all of us have come and live on the side street. The working class. I call the working class because everything within me tells me that there is no more middle class. Ted Koppel years ago, Commissioner Williams, had a special on the working poor. Not lazy people, but a man and his wife. Not in urban America, but in the rural areas of Vermont. Working full time every day and still cannot make ends meet. Brothers and sisters, I believe that the working class of our society is facing its most challenging financial time since the Great Depression. And shame on America if it turns its back on the millions of its everyday hard-working men and women. Shame on those who wish to sit on the sidelines and allow our car manufacturers to go bankrupt. Where is the compassion that enables us to send $12+ billion to Iraq every single month and not a check has bounced? Where is the compassion that has us building hospitals and schools in a foreign land? Where is the compassion that will give you 3 meals in jail when you can't hardly get 1 meal out in the streets? Where is the compassion? I know that the Bible says that charity begins at home and then spreads abroad. Then somebody else will counter my argument and say, but Bishop, the Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself. And our neighbor is not necessarily he or she who lives next door to us. But brothers and sisters, we must rightly divide the word of truth. And there's no way that I can bail my neighbor's house out when my house is in financial ruin. How can I help my neighbor pay his bills when I'm struggling every day? I must admit that I intended to watch the sideshow. And I assumed that Congress would do the right thing. I just assumed that Congress would extend the much needed help without a second thought, without an hour of debate or conversations. I thought that with the stroke of the presidential pen, this nightmare would be over. But then I remember it was just a few years ago when this same government allowed tens of thousands of its own people to waddle in a homeless state of unsanitary conditions and deplorable conditions in the New Orleans Superdome football stadium. And the only response and answer that leadership could give was that we didn't even know they were there. Well, we're saying to America and to the government and to the leaders, look at us. We are here. These are faces of our fathers and our mothers and our grandfathers who sweat and bled and died trying to make an honest living. And we will not let you turn your back and act like we don't exist. For we say to you that you might operate in the back doors, but God is in the back doors. God sees and God hears. Therefore, this week, if never before, I've come to the conclusion that the only hope we have is in God. But I caution you, brothers and sisters, that hope by itself is not enough. For you see, hope alone and naked has no materiality. It's void of tangibility. Paul tells the church at Rome that there shall be some times of suffering. But the consolation is that it shall not be compared worthy with the glory of God that shall be revealed in us. In other words, God is testing us. God is speaking to us. God is trying us during this time of crisis, during this season and period of uncertainty, to see what our confession will be. Brothers and sisters, if you're hoping that Congress will vote with you, then your hope is misplaced. If you're hoping that the president will come through for you, then your hope is a false hope. If you're hoping that the president-elect will swoop into office in January and satisfy all of your needs, wants, and desires, then again I say that your hope is a waste of time. Let me suggest to you that what we need today is a different kind of hope. What we need today is what I have called a hybrid hope. Remember, I told you that hope in and of itself comes up short each and every time because it has no substance. It's like an elusive dream. know whether you've ever had an elusive dream. An elusive dream is the kind of dream that when you're in a deep sleep, it seems and feels so real until you can almost touch it. Y'all quiet him. Sisters, you've had elusive dreams that you was at the altar marrying Denzel. Then you woke up and found out you were still with him. Brothers, you've had an elusive dream that you were down at the altar marrying Beyonce. And then you woke up, you were still with her. An elusive dream. Something that seems so real. Something that you can almost touch, that you can almost feel. The kind of dream that seems so real that you don't want to wake up. You want to sleep forever. I have some elusive dreams. One very vividly that I will remember for the rest of my days. I've always known what I would be in life, or what I thought I would be. I was never a young boy or a kid that shifted and transitioned from wanting to be a fireman to a police, wanting to be an attorney or an accountant or a teacher or a doctor or a lawyer or a preacher. I knew what I wanted to be. Always, I wanted to be a professional baseball player. That's what I wanted to be. Back in the 60s, Willie Horton was our hero. And I can remember early on in life trying to take the steps of playing baseball and achieving that goal and that desire. Playing the Northwest Detroit Little League, 12 years old, playing in the minor league, and the next year, the major league, and the next year, the senior league, and I was good at what I did. Made the various all-star teams of those leagues. Playing at Mumford High School, and even 2 years at Wayne State University. And I can remember vividly one time I had an elusive dream. I jumped over the farm league and the minor league and was in the major leagues. I was playing at Tiger Stadium. My dream was so real. I was dreaming and in a deep sleep. It was the World Series. It was the 7th game. We were down by 3 runs. It was the 9th inning with 2 outs. The bases were loaded, and I was up at bat. It was a great dream. And I came up to the plate in my dream. And I took my bat and I knocked the dirt out of my cleats. And I dug in at the plate and had my Willie Horton batting stance. And 50,000 people were hollering my name. They were saying, Chucky, Chucky, he's our man. If he can't do it, nobody can. And I was taking my practice swings. And the pitcher wind up. And he threw the ball. And just before I swung, I woke up. Only to realize that the 50,000 people was my mama saying, Chucky, this is the last time I'm going to tell you to get up and get ready for school. That's what hope is by itself. It's an elusive dream. Just when you think you got something, it slips out of your hands. But let me suggest to you that we need a mixture. We need a crossbreed. Not hope by itself. Not hope in a naked state. But what we need is a hybrid hope. A hope that is mixed with faith. Because hope in and of itself is not hope. But when you take hope and mix it with faith, now you've got a recipe that can move the throne of God. That's why the writer picked it up in Hebrews and said, now faith is the substance of things that we're hoping for. It is the evidence, the materiality, and the tangibility of things that we cannot see. I tell you, brothers and sisters, this is the time that will try our faith. These are the days that you will have to put up or shut up. These are the days that we must have faith in God and believe that God will have the last say. This is the hour that we must put our trust in God. And if we are able to have a hybrid hope, the kind of hope that we mix with faith, we can now put our faith in God and watch and see, won't he make a way out of no way. I wish I had a witness this morning. Too many of us are looking to the White House. Too many of us